Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI Interconnect podcast. I'm your host, Laurent, and on this show, we explore how founders and operators build, scale, and navigate complex industries shaped with AI and global shifts. AI Interconnect is a platform where we connect ideas, people, and systems across industry to better understand how technology is shaping or reshaping business. Today, I'm joined by Nathanael Noiraud, a founder and CEO at N Strategy Consulting Services, or also known as NSCS. And NSCS help technology companies expand into Asian Pacific markets by building strategy, partnership, and local execution. Nathanael, thanks for being here. Very, very happy to be on the show, to see you on your
Thank you,
show.
Laurent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your
Well,
invitation.
wonderful. And two French people, but we're doing it in English. Okay, Nathanael, thanks for. Let's um let's start with your background so listeners understand the path that led you here. You have built your career into around helping companies move across border and navigate new markets. Um, that's not a common path. And Nathaniel, how did your background lead you to build NSCS and focus especially on APAC expansion?
Sure. I think all my life, even as far as I can remember, I was always dreaming of, exploration and discovering the world and understanding better how everything was working. So I grew up with this very set idea in mind. And so it was natural for me in terms of ambition and career to build a path that was very international. So during my studies, I had the opportunity to do some different internships in South America, Central America. Then I had a scholarship to go study in the US to do my MBA there. And after that, I was already convinced that the 21st century was going to be mostly driven by Asia. And I think that's exactly what we're witnessing now. So my decision was really for the long term to focus on Asia Pacific. So as far as my career is concerned, I started very rapidly with Asia, some 15 plus years ago, by leading the expansions for different listed companies in Southeast Asia specifically and in Asia Pacific in general, always tech companies. So that's how naturally it came to me, combining my long-term dream and aspirations together with my experience of around 4, 5, 6 years with listed companies, spearheading their growth in Southeast Asia and APAC to open the door of APAC for growth stage tech companies, bridge the gap between opportunities in Asia Pacific and those mid-sized, fast-growing companies which wouldn't have the same, of course, access to capital and knowledge as far as their expansion to APAC is concerned.
I love it. Okay, that's great. And what stand out is that your position NSCS as a bridge between global companies and Asia Pacific market, which is a very specific role. When you explain NSCS to someone outside the industry, how do you describe what you actually do and who you help?
So there are different stages. First of all, we need to assess the opportunities, evaluate which markets are the best and why. And secondly, it's really around what are the connections that we already have that we can leverage on to make these companies successful quickly in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. So to give you some example, very often we focus first on those countries that are the most advanced technologically in the markets, and then we go one more step and think, okay, what are the industries, what are the leaders that we already know, so that we can present those people and we can first, check their interest in the solution that our clients have, and then start to trigger and generate business. So basically, we compress the go-to-market time down to a few months or a few quarters until we get the first deal. And that's a very strong value added. versus parachuting someone from HQ with zero experience, zero network in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. That can be very costly and very painful. So the idea is to make it very efficient, both in terms of time and also in terms of cost.
And I love it. And what type of clients
So
gets the
usually
most value from your work?
growth stage companies primarily. So by growth stage, we mean those companies that already have revenues, of course, and that have already some level of international development in most cases. So roughly, out of the 140 companies we have worked with for the past 10 years, about two-thirds of those come from Western Europe. So as you know, in Europe, it's quite natural to expand into other markets, other countries in Europe. So typically those companies would have already some international business, but what we help them to do is really to take the leap of faith to a much further away kind of international expansion. In terms of size or revenue, if we put some numbers there, I would say that we work primarily with companies that have anywhere between 1 and 100 million. And in terms of staff, of course, now it's really being dramatically changed with AI and so on. But usually what we say is between 30 and 300. So you see this kind of soft spot. If we look at the funding, maybe they are post Series A or post Series B.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Um, I didn't mention, but you're based in Kuala Lumpur, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a permanent resident. I've been living in Southeast Asia for 15 years and primarily based out of Malaysia.
Okay, then what truly differentiates your approach compared to other consulting firm operating in APAC?
The thing is that, so first of all, the long-term presence here, the fact that we have a very large team of over 70 people with a combination of local people in every country where we are across Southeast Asia, across Oceania as well as foreigners who have been in the region for a long time. So I've been myself only 15 years, but we have people who have been in the region for 20, 30, 40 years. So I think this very long-term presence and existing network makes a real strong difference. That's a very key part. Another strong aspect of our approach is that we also like to have skin in the game, and on some projects we will actually invest. So it's not something that is systematic. We are not an investment fund, yet we like to co-invest with some of the companies we work with after a few quarters of successful collaboration together. So that is also part of our model. To give you some metrics, on a yearly basis, we have 15 to 20 projects roughly. And out of those 15 to 20, maybe two or three will lead to co-investment.
Okay. Wonderful. From what I see, helping companies expand internationally sounds attractive, but in reality it's very messy, and different regulation, culture, partners, timelines. And right now, what feels like the hardest part of running and scaling NSCS?
For us, I think it's really about selecting the right projects now. We have reached a stage where we have developed such a strong network and expertise. So I would say that first of all is to select the right projects and to make sure the companies we work with are in for the long term, and understand that they may have to do some localization or tropicalization, as I like to say, to succeed in certain countries, certain markets, and to understand that what we do will be in different stages, right? So first of all is really the initial outreach through our network. Then we start to have the first meetings, the first deal. And once the first deals are in place, set up a regional entity, build a team, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple steps to build a successful collaboration in the long term. In terms of challenges, to be honest, it's I would say not so much at our level, but it's more to have like companies that can succeed in the long term out of Europe, and sometimes the difficulties they are facing are more related to their home domestic markets or the regulation in Europe rather than their capacity to expand.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, has anything changed recently in APAC market that make your work more complex?
I mean, it's changing all the time, of course. um, it's it's an interesting environment because now, as far as technology is concerned, you do have some very strong local players in many verticals. So that's a great opportunity also for us to sometimes team up and set up partnerships between the companies we represent, the companies we invest in, and those strong local technology firms. At the same time, you have, of course, echoing to the geopolitical battle of the giants, like American companies, Chinese companies getting in and investing massively. So we like to play the card also of the neutrality, for those European companies we bring in. And we try as much as possible, especially when it comes to solutions in, for instance, cybersecurity or data management. We really like to highlight the aspect around sovereignty for those countries, for those large enterprises that we choose the solutions we bring. We always want to bring solutions to them, softwares and so on, which enable them to remain, in control of their data, in control of their information.
Yeah. you have you have a front row seat to companies entering Asia. You see pattern before most people do. And from your vantage point, what shifts in global expansion or APAC markets matters most right now, but is still underappreciated?
Yeah, I think more and more people are opening the eyes, like back in the days when I started the business 10 years ago and so on, I was spending much more time responding to interviews or writing articles. These days, we don't do much of it, but I was very happy to do it for you because I think the educational or the pedagogical part of the work is not so necessary anymore. What I mean here is that more and more people are aware that Asia Pacific is growing very rapidly, that you have, 80% of the world growth in our region, and that more and more innovations, super high quality innovations are coming out of the Asia Pacific zone. So I think that it's something that is now clear for everyone. So it's more around, again, like selecting technologies and companies which are advanced enough to have an opportunity in the markets today. So we really need to go deep into what are the advantages, what is the competitive landscape to make sure that a given company does have an opportunity to grow successfully in the region.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And what are people overreacting to when they think about expanding into Asia?
Overreacting, you mean from the perspective of those companies from the West going to the East?
They could be afraid of,
Yeah, I think
or
that, of course, the cultural differences, and that's why our presence here on the ground with the years of experience and the fact that we have more than half of the team made of people who are really from here, of course, that makes already a big part of the job and bridging this cultural gap. I think that's one part. The distance can be another one, but usually,
yeah,
it's quite easy to travel back and forth. And actually, when our clients come here in the region, it's very interesting because it's always pretty much the same. I mean, some of them would have already come to the region, maybe just once or twice, but they are really impressed. Actually, they are really impressed by how developed, how efficient, and also one thing that they highlight is the purchasing power here. So of course you have
yeah,
different cities, different countries with different price point. Naturally, Singapore or Hong Kong are higher. Same for Australia; it's quite a high price point. But when they are with us in Kuala Lumpur or in Bangkok or in Ho Chi Minh City, even more so, they just cannot believe the quality of what they eat, the quality of the five-star hotel where they stay, versus the price they pay for it. And so I think it's a strong realization also of how efficient can those economies be.
yeah, definitely, that's right. And what signals do you personally track to identify companies ready to enter APAC?
So what we look into really are the case studies, and before the case studies, of course, the team and especially the founders and the CEO. But then once we go in depth in terms of what the company is doing, we look at the case studies. And are those case studies going to resonate with our network here in Southeast Asia or in APAC? Are they relevant, or are they, let's say, European specific or US centric and therefore irrelevant here? So we really need to scratch and go in depth in terms of how relevant this is going to be for Southeast Asia, for Asia Pacific. And also, as I said earlier, how much do we need to adapt or tropicalize the solution? Sometimes we do not require it to do much adaptation, localization, but sometimes we do so, and it makes a lot of sense. So we need to evaluate all those parameters so we build the most efficient possible go-to-market.
Yeah, yeah, that's obviously. And when you when you operate across multiple countries, a focus becomes critical. Looking ahead 12 to 18 months, what does success realistically look like for NSCS?
Well, for us, we want to continue to have those very exciting projects that we work on, including some where we will invest in. That's really something we like. We have invested in several health tech companies also, around technologies related to the brain development, for instance. We won't have time to develop too much today, but it's really around passion, and investing in some of these companies, working with great people, and being always surprised, discovering, learning new technologies. A big part of what we do now is really around how passionate we are by the technologies and to work with these people. So for us, it's a very strong emphasis on the quality and the longevity of the collaborations that we can work on.
Yeah, awesome. If you had fewer constraints, what would you accelerate first? More money, more time?
Time, of course. The money part is covered, but it's more on the time. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I could fit 2 or 3 days in one, but you always need to make choices and to prioritize, right? It's the life of a CEO, especially when you run multiple businesses, because as you know, NSCS is my main business, but we do have also a few more companies to run. So of course, time, and that's where, yeah, prioritization is super important.
But will you accelerate your acquisition, your partnership acquisition, a different market?
Probably
Uh,
with more time, I would be happy to evaluate more investment opportunities in more companies. And I would be happy also to look at how we can expand, yeah, to new markets. Like currently, we focus really on Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand. Those are absolutely our key markets. As far as other markets like China or Korea, Japan, or even India, we mostly go through partners, and that's a way that it works really well. But we wouldn't mind also to do it by ourselves at some point.
okay, yeah. Um, a lot of funders, listeners are thinking about international expansion, but don't know where to start. Based on your experience, what should funders and operators start doing or stop doing when they consider expanding into APAC?
I think the first, but this is really the stage zero, is your foundations and how strong you are in your domestic market and in your closest export market. And before that, I think it's too early. As I said before, we look really into the case studies, and we want to make sure that we have some great value proposition and great stories to tell to the future clients here, whether they are large enterprise or governments buying directly those solutions if they are made for them. So first of all, of course, to have strong value proposition, strong references, and that comes from, of course, great team, great product, and so on. Then it's really about being able to allocate some time to it, because You see, most of the work we do ourselves when it comes to the market entry, the negotiation of contracts, and so on. But from the perspective of the end client, who may be, again, a large Asian enterprise or a large government, it's very important to hear from the people who are behind the solution from day one, correct? They don't want to hear it from me at some point. They need to hear it from the founder himself or herself. And so you need, of course, to have a bit of time to be able to present it to those future end clients in APAC. Maybe sometimes to come also in the region if possible. Most of our clients do so at one point, and to really understand and meet people.
Yeah. And what habit or approach consistently makes the biggest difference for you?
I think it's really about being very well disciplined. Like once you have the foundation right, the great value proposition, to be really disciplined. The force of habits, the force of rehearsal also. But once you know really well what you're doing and why it's great, it shouldn't be very difficult to explain it to others. Then it's more about adaptation and trying to understand the specific needs. That may be sometimes the challenge for those clients that we have coming from Europe or from North America or the Middle East, to come and understand the culture here and understand why this end client may want something slightly different than what they are used to deliver in Europe, for instance. So that's where probably a little bit of adaptation is required.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Nathanael. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining. A strong insight into your journey, your industry, and the work you're doing at NSCS. And I really appreciate Nathanael. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Laurent. Have a great day.
Where, that's great. Where can people reach you or learn about your work?
So they can simply and connect with me on LinkedIn and or send me email. Feel free to put some link there, and we'll be happy to discuss with them. We also have other businesses going very strong, especially the one where we help individuals to relocate here, like high net worth investors. Those typically that are the CEOs of those companies we work with, and we have helped already more than a dozen of them in 18 months to actually relocate into Southeast Asia usually from Europe, but not only, and to build for themselves their family offices here, get the right type of visa, and all the services coming along, tax, accounting, audit, banking, etc., etc. So people also who are more interested on a personal level to come and enjoy the amazing opportunities and life here in Southeast Asia, in Asia Pacific, do not hesitate to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I love it. That's great. Thank you, Nathanael.
Thank you, Laurent. Have a great day. Bye bye.
And that's it. Thank you. And that's it for today's episode of AI Interconnect. And if you enjoy it, share it with someone who's building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Bye bye, Nathanael. Thanks.
Bye, Laurent.